I want the good, the bad, and the ugly. Was it your fault or hers? Here's my story. I guess I'll start. I had a girlfriend for 2 years. She loved sports and video games, and she got along with all my friends and groups. She supported me on every level and threw me an awesome birthday party. She even flew out to Germany to see me while I was on deployment. I ended the relationship because I wanted to explore new experiences. I broke her heart and had to return the wedding ring her mother gave me to propose. I regret my decision. Story 1. I met an amazing girl in college. She was smart, funny, and we shared many interests. We spent 2 years together, making memories and growing closer. She was always there for me, and we had an incredible connection. However, I let my insecurities get the best of me and pushed her away, thinking I wasn't good enough for her. Watching her walk away was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I regret it every single day. It was entirely my fault, and I've never met anyone like her since. Story 2. I was bored and couldn't sleep one night, so I got on Omegle and started chatting. Everyone kept asking for age, sex, and location. It was boring, and I just wanted to talk. Then I met one person, Caroline. We talked all night into the next day. I took the risk of being catfished and asked for her number. We exchanged numbers and continued our conversation. She was from California, and I was from Arkansas. We never skipped a beat, even when we called each other. One day, she asked if we could meet. I took a chance and flew to California. There she was, waiting for me at the airport, as beautiful as all her pictures. It was the most memorable week of my life. I never felt so alive and in love. The day I had to leave was so hard. I couldn't stop tearing up on the airplane. We continued to talk and see each other, but it became difficult as time went on because we longed for one another. It didn't help that I put my foot in my mouth from time to time. We were young, either in college or working. Eventually, we decided to end it. It tore my heart in two, and nothing has been the same since. I started hooking up to fill the void, but nothing ever felt right. I've tried reaching out, but all her social media accounts are inactive. I miss her and think about her often. I wish we had 30 minutes to talk, but that will never be. I miss you, Caroline. Story 3. I feel like I am in the middle of the story now. It's not quite the one who got away, but more like what could be if circumstances were different. It serves as a good reminder of how unpredictable life can be in the best way possible. Story 4. I tried to get my friend's dog to say hi to me the other day, but she completely ignored me for another friend who dropped a piece of pepperoni. Story 5. The girl I lost to my alcoholism. She was absolutely the one. We got along so well, had inside jokes from the moment we met, and flowed with each other's friends. We had our own hobbies but shared a lot in common. It was as perfect as things can get. But I drank. She did as well, but I hid my alcoholism from her, and I was good at it. Her father died of alcoholism-related health issues, so she took it seriously. She was worried about me, but I was able to cut back and hide it better, and she trusted me. It all ended one night when we both got a liter of our choice of liquor. We had a great time talking and then watching a movie. We each had about 4 drinks before she went to bed. I wanted to catch up on my show, finished my bottle, and fell asleep on the couch. The thing was, she woke up around 5 a.m. and saw my bottle empty. When she got up for work at 11 a.m., it was full again. I had filled it with iced tea to hide my drinking. She confronted me about it. Elite. She said she couldn't be with someone who was drinking that much and then lying about it. She knew where I was headed. I threw it all away for the drink. I am now over 2 years sober, and I regret it every day. Story 6. I dated a girl for 4 years from high school into college, and she broke up with me. Within 2 months, I ran into another girl by chance, and I fell in love immediately on the first day. We dated for 2 more years and mutually broke up after graduation. We didn't talk for 5 years, and during that time, I searched for someone who had what I had with her. Due to a global pandemic, she flew back home, and the first thing she did was see me. We picked back up where we left off. She came home with me, and she never left. We have since gotten married, and she is due soon. Story 7. Since it has been 30 years, my wife and I can laugh about it now. She even pokes fun at me about it, especially after the two of them chatted for a while a few years ago. You really messed up with her. Yes. Come on. You idiot, she's amazing. She's sending us 3 boxes of things for the kids. I'm glad you ended up with me instead. But wow. I'm sending her my strawberry pie recipe. Story 8. Natasha was someone I admired. I was a young man in my 20s who had never had a girlfriend or even kissed a girl at that point. She was stunning, and other men constantly pursued her. We had a lot in common. She enjoyed video games, action movies, and Disney. I would visit her to watch movies, but I never made a move, thinking that a woman like her would never be interested in me. One evening, when I visited, she insisted on watching something different and started playing adult content on the television. This caught me off guard, and I was visibly intrigued when she suggested we go downstairs to her room to continue watching. Oblivious to her intentions, I responded, "No, that's okay." We remained friends, but I later realized I missed an important sign. Years later, she revealed that she had a crush on me and wanted me to make a move. She put on the adult content because her friends told her it would turn me on and prompt me to act on my feelings. I wanted to, but I thought it was too good to be true. Ultimately, I missed an opportunity to be with her, one that she clearly indicated she wanted. Story 9. I have been truly in love 3 times in my life. First, there was the one that got away. It was a high school love, and she was a great person. I am happy for her and would probably help her today in any way possible, except intimately. We connected and argued well. I could definitely see lifelong happiness with her even back then. The second experience was tough love and valuable lessons. I loved her, but she didn't love me back. We had a quick marriage that ended in divorce. However, I learned a lot about myself and relationships in general afterward. The third experience has been unconditional love. We have been together for 14 years and married for 11. I can honestly say this will probably be my last love in life. Even if my wife were to pass away unexpectedly, I probably wouldn't remarry. I honestly feel no woman could replace her. Story 10. I was dating a girl while I was overseas and wanted to make it official. She wanted to wait, so I chose the runner-up. I married her and was divorced less than 2 years later. Story 11. I had a friend in high school who was a fantastic person. She was thoughtful, kind, intelligent, and beautiful, the total package. She helped me with girl issues like unrequited love, was a great listener, and gave excellent advice. We had a natural friendship that involved a wonderful back-and-forth exchange. I never had that easy a relationship with anyone else. We never had disagreements or arguments and could always find common ground during discussions. She was kind to everyone, so I thought her being nice to me was just her nature. I had no idea she was interested in me until years later when a mutual friend mentioned, "You know, she was totally into you, right?" It hit me hard, and my friend realized from my expression that I was clueless. I felt like an idiot for missing the signs, and I still think about it 30 years later. I didn't see her again until our 10-year reunion, and by then I was married with a child. We shared a hug and reminisced a bit. I told her I was sorry I missed the hints. She just smiled and said something like, "I guess it just wasn't meant to be." We still catch up on social media from time to time, but even though I've been in a great relationship for many years, I still play the what if game occasionally. Story 12. Orientation week for my first year of undergraduate studies. I had just moved my belongings into my dorm room and met my roommate. The two of us walked down the hall to where one of our resident assistants was writing up residents' birthdays on the wall. The walls of this dorm could actually be dry erased, which was very useful for doing math homework. We told her our birthdays and chatted a little. Then, 2 girls approached from down the hallway, one blonde and one Asian. My body tensed up immediately. Adrenaline and cortisol started pumping, total fight or flight response. Why? Simple. There were 5 of us in that hallway, but the blonde girl was only paying attention to me. Even now, it's hard to say exactly what it was about her body language, but that was the one time in my life where I knew, without a doubt, that a woman was interested in me. What did I do about it, other than panic? Oh, we'll get there. But first I want to highlight just how foolish I was and how monumentally I messed up. So my birthday was already up on the wall, and guess what? The blonde girl and I share the same birthday. She pointed this out immediately while staring and smiling at me. Later that evening, our floor played frisbee outside on the quad. We formed a huge circle and passed it back and forth. It was never something I thought I'd do, but it was nice until the blonde girl caught the frisbee. She paused for a split second, and I knew with absolute certainty that she was going to throw it to me. And she did. Right into my belt buckle, doubling me over. I'm not joking. She hit my belt buckle, didn't hit my chest, didn't hit my groin, just clanged right off the belt. She rushed over, mortified, her cheeks a cute shade of pink, apologizing profusely. Me? I was laughing. Of course, she hit me in the belt buckle. That's just how my life would go. I laughed and told her it was fine because I didn't know what else to do. And honestly, I was still panicking. So there you go. That was my romantic meet cute, and I messed it up. How? Simple. I was terrified and didn't know what to do because I had never had someone express interest in me. So I pushed her away. I was polite and cordial to her but never took the hint, even though she dropped so many of them. At some point, she took my lack of interest as a hint and moved on. I realized I had messed up, but didn't do anything about it. We became good friends, and I can honestly say she was one of my best friends. As much of an idiot as I was then, I've managed to process a lot of that grief. Setting aside the work I hadn't yet done on myself that meant I probably didn't have the skills to actually be in a relationship at that time, there's also the matter that she wanted children and I didn't. The current me understands this, but 18-year-old me didn't know anything. Story 13. No one got away. Everything ended as it should have. I found it better to look forward than to dwell on the past. Story 14. When I think about the one that got away, my mind wanders to a quiet library corner during my sophomore year. Her name was Julia. That first encounter was nothing short of a scene from a whimsical novel. As we reached for the same dusty volume of poetry, our fingers brushed and our eyes met. There was an instant spark. We laughed it off and started talking about our favorite poets and lines, which turned into coffee and then into midnight walks around campus, discussing everything from existential philosophy to the latest independent film. It was a whirlwind romance of shared books, dreams, and an understanding that seemed so rare. But as I stood on the brink of something real, something lasting, fear struck deep. Rather than face the possibility of something going awry, I convinced myself it was a fleeting college romance destined to burn out. So, I let it fizzle, justifying it as preserving the purity of what we had. Yet here I am, years later, realizing what a colossal mistake that was. Letters sent without reply and profiles perused in the quiet of the night all echo a past that never quite settled. Julia, with her insightful eyes and laughter that filled rooms, remains a specter of what could have been. Now, in moments of quiet reflection, I can't help but hope she found the happiness that we might have shared, while I've come to terms with the regret that, perhaps, I was her one that got away as well. Story 15. She had an amazing sense of humor, understood video games, was a high-level athlete, and was extremely talented in music. She was also intelligent, had a great voice, and a cute laugh. She had everything I ever wanted in a partner. In short, we broke up because I didn't understand my feelings and unintentionally placed the burden on her while she was dealing with her own challenges. I failed to recognize that I was adding to her stress. I traveled to a different country for a week and discovered she was only a few hotels away from where I was staying at the same time. I was too young and immature to understand my emotions and appreciate her. Sometimes, I still feel foolish for letting her go without making an effort to change for her. Story 16. There were many wonderful women I let go of, but the love of my life. Oh man, did I mess it up. I still miss her. I met her 3 years ago, just days after a breakup. We hit it off. She was probably one of the smartest, funniest, and prettiest girls I've ever met. Exactly my type. Beautiful face, gorgeous body, amazing personality, and incredibly smart. However, I was still hurting from being cheated on. I loved her. I really did, but I felt I couldn't be with her. I never lied to her or misled her about wanting to settle down. After about 5 months, she was tired of my behavior and made it clear she had strong feelings for me. I couldn't bring myself to tell her I felt the same way. I'd avoid the subject. She would block me and then I would reach out to mend things. By the 8th month, I realized it was an ultimatum. Either I settled down with her or she would leave forever. I decided it was over. I called her over one last time, and we had an intimate day together. When she left, I blocked her. I genuinely cried for weeks every night. That night, she asked me why I kept seeing her if I felt nothing for her, especially since I could be out dating others instead of having her over every day. I could have fixed everything then by telling her I loved her, that I didn't want to lose her, and that I wanted her in my life. But my mind was made up. I felt I had already lost her. I still haven't let her go. This year, I decided I needed to learn to open up if I wanted a genuine relationship. I stopped dating around, and at the beginning of the year, I ran into her. I invited her to a VIP suite for an NBA game. She hesitantly accepted, making it clear it wasn't a date. Felt like we never stopped talking. We rekindled our connection. She stayed over because we drank and it was late, but she made it clear no intimacy would happen. I cuddled her all night but avoided discussing the past to keep the moment light. I invited her out a couple of times, but during the second date, she said she didn't have time for games and wanted a real relationship, so she wouldn't go out with me. I was disheartened, as I thought there was hope for reconciliation. I apologized for the past, telling her I had matured significantly. I respected her feelings and left her alone. A few weeks later, to my surprise, she reached out and we went out again. Again, she stayed over, and it was clear no intimacy was on the table. This time, I opened up about how much I regretted my past actions, expressing a desire to earn her trust back slowly. We stayed up until 6 a.m. talking. We went on a few more dates, but she grew distant again. I tried to give her space, but it was an emotional roller coaster. I was thrilled she was giving me another chance, but then she said she would rather just be friends. I told her that I liked her too much, and this all brought back my feelings. We could be friends from a distance without hard feelings, but I couldn't pretend she was just a friend. A few weeks later, she reached out again. We had a great time and she stayed over. This time, she initiated intimacy multiple times. I was elated not just because of the intimacy, but because I thought she had built some trust in me. But a few days later, she went cold again and eventually blocked me. It seemed like when she was with me, everything was great. But once she returned home and started to think about it, she struggled with her feelings. I guess she decided that blocking me was the best way to move on. I reached out to wish her luck and mentioned that she would always be the girl who got away due to self-sabotage. I apologized again and asked for forgiveness, letting her know I completely understood her side. That was the end of it. She replied with an apology, saying she had so much fun with me and that I seemed like the perfect guy. She forgave me but was torn and scared that I would hurt her again. She couldn't come to terms with giving me another chance and wanted to protect herself from more pain. I apologized once again for any confusion I had caused in the past and expressed that I would always regret my actions. She apologized too, and we left it at that. This occurred about 2 months ago, and I still miss her. I will always love that girl. She wasn't a clout chaser. Her social media has fewer than 100 followers, and she only follows close friends. She has a good head on her shoulders and is absolutely stunning inside and out. I messed it up so badly. She will forever be the girl I let get away. Story 17. I had separated from my children's mother, a toxic person with whom I had a dysfunctional relationship. I was living in another town and seeing my children on weekends. I met a wonderful woman, and we dated for almost a year. She was willing to accept my children as her own, choosing not to have her own. She was generous, kind, and beautiful. However, I was not healed enough to accept love from someone like her. The allure of a toxic relationship drew me back to my ex, and I ended up marrying the wrong woman. I still regret it, 22 years later, and wonder what might have been had I been ready to embrace real love in my life. Now the universe, fate, or luck has sent another remarkable woman into my life. This time I am ready. Story 18. I met her when I wasn't even looking. Our story was straight out of a romantic comedy. We met at a cafe, became friends first, and went on some amazing dates. Our first date was rock climbing, then a concert, then bungee jumping. She was a quirky theater kid who brought me nothing but joy. She was the coolest person I knew, so secure in who she was, filled with warmth. She had a presence that gave love freely. She would have done everything for me. Then I was traveling for a few months. I became a little insecure and, at my lowest, kissed another woman. I didn't come clean about it for 2 months. I continued to date her and let her fall more in love with me while keeping it from her. Eventually, the truth came out. I broke her. The look on her face as I revealed what I had done is something I will never forget. I destroyed everything, nuclearized it. All the love, all the care, everything she had done for us. She was willing to work on everything with me. We saw each other as life partners. All gone. I went from her most cherished memories to a horrendous scar that she would spend all her energy trying to forget. I destroyed it all and put her through so much trauma, all for a fleeting moment of selfish pleasure. I lost a good woman. Many men understand this pain. To know you have a woman who would make you fall in love with the world again, a woman who would sacrifice everything for you, a woman who provided a safe space for you to be yourself. I had that, and I messed it up horrendously. In hindsight, I am learning about the consequences. Right now, I feel shame and guilt. I can't believe that I am capable of delivering such pain to someone. It's affected me deeply. I am taking the time to learn from this, to self-reflect. I never want to cause anyone this kind of pain again. I wish it wasn't her who had to face it. She didn't deserve it. I will spend a lifetime making up for this mistake. It is my deepest regret. Story 19. I met this girl in college through mutual friends a few times, but the timing never aligned as both of us were in relationships. During the summer of the pandemic, we matched on a dating app and spent a month isolated together in our college town. Those were some of the best days of my life. I will never forget how incredible that July was. I ruined it because my longtime ex, who had moved an hour and a half away, returned to town and showed up at my doorstep. In a moment of weakness, I slept with her, and she convinced me to give our relationship another chance. I ended things with the girl from college the next day, but my relationship with my ex lasted only a few more months. I have been single since then. I still think about the girl from time to time and regret what I did. I wish I could go back and change my decisions. We reconnected briefly 2 years later, but the circumstances were not right as she had gone back to her longtime ex. Story 20. I was experiencing a mental breakdown and struggling with feelings of uncertainty about whether I was delusional or if she was genuinely interested in other guys behind my back. She passed away 8.5 months ago from fentanyl poisoning. I tried to get her back for 2 years and made a post about it on my page not long before I saw this. I know I loved her and wanted to be with her, and I believe I hurt her, as she told me I did. However, I found it difficult to trust anyone. Story 21. I matched with a woman on Tinder, and we connected immediately with our love of animals and many other common interests. We messaged for about 4 weeks while I was relocating across the country to be near her, and we met for a date after I settled in. We went on several dates, and things seemed to progress well. On our 4th date, I invited her to my place, cooked a meal for us, and we watched Deadpool. She made the first move by asking me to kiss her. However, the following week, she started coldly rejecting my romantic messages for no apparent reason. We didn't see each other for 3 weeks, and when we did, she told me she wasn't looking for a serious relationship due to her part-time studies. She never explicitly said she didn't want one in the future. She continued to stay in touch, and we met a few more times in the coming months. I remained hopeful that she would change her mind, but eventually, she clarified that she didn't want a relationship at all, not even in the future, so that was the end of it. It's been almost 8 years, and I still reflect on what might have been if she had been in a better place and more open to a relationship. Story 22. Honest to God, I was just thinking about that girl 2 nights ago. We weren't in a relationship. In fact, we never even talked to each other. She was my junior in college, and I knew who she was, but I never really bothered to initiate a conversation as we had nothing to talk about. I swear this entire thing was like something out of a movie. I used to run into her all the time. It was almost certain that we would cross paths if I went out somewhere, and she definitely noticed it too. It happened too many times to count, but one time, I was leaving my dorm and heading back to my hospital in the afternoon when we crossed each other. This time, I could hear her say clearly to her friend, "This is the guy I was talking about." Everywhere I went, we crossed paths. At one point, I was convinced this was a sign that we should talk, but then I made the worst mistake of my life by falling for my ex. Being raised the way I am, I never did anything because I thought this could lead to an emotional affair and ultimately cheating. I loathe cheaters, and I wouldn't be able to sleep if I did something as dishonorable as that. Fast forward to the end of my training. I was posted in another hospital, and she had just completed her final year exams and started her training. It was a pretty usual day, and I rode in with my friends to the hospital where I was posted. Guess who I saw as soon as I walked in? I was like, damn, if only I weren't in a relationship. I was this close to caving in and talking to her, and she didn't make it any easier by blatantly turning her head back and staring at me while I was lecturing my juniors. I didn't approach her because of my commitment and faithfulness to my ex, which got me nothing as she used me and blindsided me. To me, she'll always be the one who got away. I find it surreal that I came across a post titled something I had deliberately searched for online 2 days ago. Unreal. Story 23. Not me, but a colleague of mine had a girlfriend and thought they were perfect for each other. Both were huge Star Wars fans and loved video games. She was a classic tomboy. Everything went well until she came out as transgender. Naturally, he was very supportive of her, but it was still very hard for him to cope. Story 24. I met her right after a difficult breakup with someone I wasn't fully over. She was perfect for me too. Liked the same things, smart, funny, treated me really well, but as I mentioned, I wasn't ready to transition from one serious relationship to another, and I messed it all up. It also didn't help that I was still deep in my underachiever phase while she had just graduated from college. If I had met her a year later, things might have been different. However, I eventually met the woman I've been with for almost 25 years, so I have no regrets. Story 25. My family separated us because I couldn't balance a relationship in school. Since high school, I have struggled with this but thought I would have figured it out by now. I have been grieving the breakup since May of this year. I have found myself either idealizing more drugs than I have already used, distancing myself from family for various reasons, or just staying in bed. We dated for 4 months, and I thought we would last because we were compatible. However, she moved on, and I am still struggling, but I am slowly working through the disappointment. Story 26. I had a good experience when I was younger. We connected on many levels and could talk for hours about anything, big or small. I was young and naive, wanting to lose my virginity, and we made a plan. Growing up in a strict religious household, there was a lot of stigma around premarital sex. We made it happen, and it was amazing. She was amazing. Then I got scared and broke up with her. She would have been with me through everything, as she told me years ago. I often think about how life would be now if I had just had an ounce of intelligence. But, as life goes, everything happens for a reason. So here I sit in my home with my wife and kids, hoping that I am enough. Story 27. I have shared this story before. Pull up a chair. I dated Caroline towards the end of my college years. At the same time, I was working with Betsy. While I never cheated on Caroline, the tension between Betsy and me was thick. We had inside jokes and funny stories, and Betsy and I shared a special connection. One Monday at work, I asked Betsy what she did over the weekend. She told me she attended a party and used some cocaine. That same weekend, Caroline and I went to see a movie. Right then and there, I knew Betsy wasn't right for me. Plus, Caroline was pursuing her medical degree. It was a choice between the traditional, stable partner and the wild child. Around that time, Betsy put me on the spot. She said, "Either you're choosing her or me. You can't keep me waiting." I chose Caroline. Caroline and I got married, but we did not have children. She completed her medical degree and cheated on me throughout our marriage. I left after 10 years. I was feeling low after the divorce and considered reaching out to Betsy. I saw on social media that she was married with children. I thought better of it and decided to let her be. I found someone else, got married, and have a child. Recently, Betsy reached out to me. She described herself as a boring teacher, divorced with 2 teenagers in high school, and mentioned that she occasionally takes an edible to sleep better, as it is legal in our state. She really is quite dull. I keep the banter to a minimum when talking to her, but she's still that cool person from 20 years ago. Our paths never aligned. Once in a while, I do wonder, what if? Story 28. Probably one of the few regrets I have in my life. She had a huge crush on me. We hooked up. She was nice, smart, and even cared about my hobbies. Then I became addicted to Subnautica and Stardew Valley. I started neglecting our time together until I ended it because I thought it was going nowhere. Would it have been the perfect relationship? Probably not, but it would have been a relationship worth cultivating. I realized that this just boils down to me losing a girl because I was too much of a gamer. That really makes it sad, doesn't it? Story 29. She asked me to prom after getting her friends to invite me on some group outings like movies. It was awkward for me because I had very little dating experience, but I guess that worked in my favor. Things progressed at her pace, and I still remember the first kiss and how I felt. I went off to college, but we stayed together. I guess I was still too sheltered or nerdy to take advantage of the college scene. I had a hard time making friends, so the idea of dating someone else at school wasn't even on my mind. It was difficult, but we called weekly back when long distance was pricey, and sent letters since this was before widespread email. We made the most of school breaks, but I had to work during my time off, so our dates were limited to movies or the mall. Still, we were happy and enjoyed each other's company. The next year, she went off to college too at a different school. It was still okay, but some of her hallmates were not great. I was still too naive. Around Valentine's Day that school year, I received an off-campus call. I didn't know it wasn't local. I answered, and a voice I didn't recognize claimed to be a girl from one of my classes and said she was interested in me. I was stunned but went along with it. I had experienced girls faking interest just to get a laugh at my expense. Somewhere during this brief conversation, I must have said the wrong thing because it was quickly revealed to be a group of girls, including my girlfriend, gathered around a phone in her room. She got on the line to chew me out and then hung up. I felt so foolish. We did manage to patch things up, but looking back, things were never the same. I was pushed to make a decision that summer and ended the relationship. Took a very long time to recover. In the meantime, she moved on, met a guy the next year, dated, got married, and made plans for kids. Story 30. When I met her, her father was in hospice care, and she had just broken off an engagement a year prior. We were happy together. We talked about the future, kids, moving in together, and me supporting her in going back to school. I thought I was going to marry her. Then her best friend confessed their love for her. This was someone who had been with her through all the familial abuse she suffered as a teenager. Someone she saw at work every week, and who was pursuing their master's degree while she was working on her undergraduate studies. So we broke up. 3 months later, we went out for dinner. Then again a week later, we picked things up again. We started to go to the gym together, and I helped her resolve her shoulder pain. I supported her in going back to school, picked her up when she needed it, and helped her write her papers. I did so much for her. She told me she wanted to do more for me, but there was nothing she could really do while she was working evenings and going to school during the day. She was barely hanging on as it was, so I couldn't place additional stress on her. Then came summer classes. She decided to take 3 of them. The stress was too much, and she withdrew from me. We had plans to go out to a fancy dinner when she finished her exams, but on the day she said she was too tired. She broke up with me again 2 days later, after 3 weeks of not talking, not going on dates, and not seeing each other, while she gave me one-word answers. Her reasons were that I lacked some of the core qualities in a lasting partner. To this day, I still don't know what that means. Her best friend, a different one from those mentioned, with whom I am still in close contact, doesn't know either. This final breakup happened last year. She recently started dating another friend she met during her first semester at university. It hit me hard. I am happy for her, but I feel sad about how it all unfolded. If I'm being honest, I would still take her back. Story 31. I don't have one. The relationships that didn't work out before ended for valid reasons. My wife hasn't left, at least not yet. Story 32. I had an amazing woman who loved me deeply. She was interested in learning my hobbies, and we laughed together often. We shared the same sense of humor and taste in movies and enjoyed being introverts. However, I was young and not ready for a child, and she had one of her own. It was tough for me to look past that. We faced many issues in our relationship, and I failed to express my concerns. After the breakup, she completely misunderstood the reasons for my departure, which led her to resent me. We have had no contact since then. Story 33. I met her when I was homeless. She would spend time with me away from the shelter where I was staying. When I got a job, she was proud of me, and when I established myself in my apartment, she began encouraging me to go back to school. We dated for 2.5 years. One night, while we were together, her son, who she was separated from when I met her, asked me when I was going to move in with them. 3 days later, she broke up with me. That was 5 years ago. It still hurts. She was my best friend and the best girlfriend I have ever had. She is married now and has another child. I am happy for her, but I can't help but wonder what life would have been like had she married me instead. Story 34. I was seeing a girl who was genuinely attractive and had a goth style. We got along very well, talked about many topics, and met frequently. We played the same games and spent time together. One day, I decided to ask her out, but she put me in the friend zone, so I decided to cut off all contact. Looking back, my timing in asking her out was likely poor, and I feel like I really ruined what could have been a good friendship. Story 35. I had a crush on her in middle school. We attended the same church but went to different schools. We participated in a quiz bowl event where we faced off in a one-on-one competition for our respective teams of 4. We had mutual friends in high school but continued at different schools. We ended up attending the same college but moved in different social circles with shared friends. We matched on a dating app in my senior year, but I struggled during the texting phase because I was in a difficult mental state due to burnout. We followed each other on social media afterwards, but I did not make another attempt. Now we live on opposite sides of the country. Overall, I missed opportunities where the feelings were clearly mutual, but I did not take the chances. Story 36. I don't have one. I have left 3 times after learning they cheated. Fortunately, I am old enough that I didn't have to worry about blocking them or anything. I just left and never looked back. Story 37. Not much to tell. It didn't last long. It meant more to me than it did to her. She meant more to me than I did to her. In the end, I had to break it off and set her free so she could move on without the guilt of breaking my heart a second time. Now, there is more time between that and today than there is between my birth and that. I never really got over it, and I probably never will. But I learned to simply live anyway because the world didn't stop spinning. Story 38. I don't know for sure if she was the one, but I think about her often. I was around 24 years old, and with the COVID-19 restrictions still in place except for stores, I was looking for skincare products because I had struggled with horrible acne my whole life. I was wearing a pretty obscure artist's hoodie when she approached me, saying, "Oh my God, I love him." I made it so awkward because she was so beautiful, and I've been a bullied, closeted hermit my entire life. My hometown is small and mean, so I went, "Haha, yeah, I really like his stuff," while scanning the aisle, thinking the conversation was over. Meanwhile, she was lingering, expecting me to talk more. But I knew my mom would come barreling around the corner any moment, likely saying something that would completely ruin my chances with her. So I ended up ruining them myself. Walgreens girl, I think about you often. I'll never see you in real life again. But man, I messed up hard. Story 39. Here's mine. In 2005, I was 32, new to teaching, but making an impact in the classroom. A new head of year joined the school, and she was stunning, beautiful, classy, and carried herself with confidence. Our conversations were polite and cordial. Whenever I had the chance, I tried to steal a few minutes with her to learn about her day, weekend, and life. Turns out she was single and recently separated. Meanwhile, I was casually seeing another teacher with a bubbly personality. Very attractive, but had a significant issue with substance use, which meant we rarely went out together. And if we did, she often didn't remember. Another teacher expressed interest in the head of year and planned to ask her out. I had no reason to stop him and suggested he should, though I was disappointed. One evening, while chatting in the office, we flirted a bit, and I mentioned the date. She described it as a disaster. He was nervous, and she wanted someone who could take the lead. I did, and we kissed. It was electric. We started texting and arranged a date. I picked her up, and she looked sensational. I had never had a woman on my arm who turned so many heads. I felt the envy of those around us. As we worked in a school, we were mindful of the staff room gossip and kept things quiet. Didn't tell a soul. We explored our sexual chemistry, and I expressed a desire to spend the night together so we could fully relax. One night, we were nude, and she playfully asked, "Would you mind? Just curious," before taking me in her mouth. I felt like I was in heaven. On a later date, with her children with their father, we made love. Everything was great, and we woke up ready for more. Around Valentine's Day 2005, her daughter threw a party, and I was invited as Mum's friend. It turned out she drank a bit too much and wound up in bed early. I was left to manage the party with some sick and drunk teenagers. A real challenge. She later woke up full of apologies, saying she'd make it up to me. She did that immediately in bed, and I quickly forgave her. We continued dating, and one week, we house sat for her brother, who had a Seaview property. One evening, while in bed, she got on all fours, and the sight of her was perfect and incredibly sexy. I suddenly felt anxious and lost my arousal, feeling embarrassed at the time. I needed to stop by my ex's house to pick up some things, which made me miss her call. When I returned, she seemed a bit distant. I eventually explained where I had been, but it seemed to affect her negatively. On our next date, I mentioned a band she liked would be touring in a few months, and I could get tickets, but she responded with, "Let's not rush things." Things escalated, but I woke up to find her dressed and leaving. It was Mother's Day the next day, and she wanted to wake up with her children, completely understandable, but she hadn't mentioned it during our date. Meanwhile, her friend was interested in pursuing her for a second date, and she went for it. I felt conflicted, as I couldn't tell him I had been seeing her for 6 weeks. I still wonder why I didn't speak up. To make a long story short, that was the end of it for me. I continued to see her around the school, still looking stunning, but it dampened my spirits, leading me to leave the school in 2007. Anyone who knows me recognizes how significant her presence was in that decision. Now, she is married, living in a beautiful home in the Kent countryside, sharing images of big barbecues, cycling tours, and happy moments. A cynical person might say I could never have afforded her. I am happily married now, and while you never forget your first love, she wasn't my first, but she was the hardest to forget. Our affair was brief, but it took a long time to get over. Story 40. Honestly, I have maintained good terms with all my ex-partners and stay in contact when I am not in a relationship. The most significant one was the person I dated for most of the COVID-19 pandemic. I didn't need to buy extravagant gifts for her. We shared the costs of our weekly nights together. She would order food, and I would provide the drinks. It was nice and simple until she made a comment that unsettled me regarding my friend's suicide. I became very toxic after that, and so did she. I ended the relationship because we were clearly not good for each other. However, I can confidently say that given our habits, interests, how our families felt about each other, and the compromises we could make, we would have been great together. Unfortunately, I tend to hold grudges and felt she mocked me regarding my friend's suicide. Story 41. I met a stunning blonde when I was 20. She was studying to become a veterinarian when I first met her. We went on a few trips to cottages with mutual friends, and she would always cuddle up with me, sitting beside me and talking to me. We often exchanged messages, but I always remained cordial and never tried to flirt with her. I never took any action because 1. I thought I had no chance. 2. I didn't want to make things uncomfortable. Fast forward a couple of years, and I am still single. She is now living with an engineer and a fully licensed veterinarian. She told me that I should have made a move because she was really into me. I still think about her. Story 42. I don't turn girls down often, so I don't experience that feeling of loss. Most of my relationships have ended with the girl deciding to end them. In other words, I find myself on the receiving end of rejection. Being rejected feels different than being the one who does the rejecting. When a girl rejects me, I shrug it off and think it's her loss, not mine. I always take my chances, aim high, and more often than not, end up falling short. Story 43. I'm thankful that my one never got away. I sat down and thought of all my exes and the girls I talked to, and none of them were meant for me. I missed some clear signs and talked myself out of approaching a few of them, but I found my one, and I'm grateful for it. Story 44. The one who got away from me was this girl I met in 7th grade. I was in a relationship at the time, but it was love at first sight for me. Literally the girl of my dreams. She was perfect from the moment I saw her. I was in health class during first period, and she and another new kid had just transferred, but for some reason, everyone was standoffish toward her. So I immediately jumped up to be her partner for our assignment. We exchanged phone numbers and social media, and we talked all day and all night, staying up until we had to go to school the next morning or falling asleep on the phone. Often, we would fall asleep in class. However, like I said, I was in a relationship at the time. Let me call her Sarah. One day, when Sarah was sick and had to stay home, our mutual friend told me it was obvious we both liked each other. That's when I confessed my feelings for her. She said she liked me too, so I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, and Sarah and I talked on and off for the rest of that summer. But she had to go stay at her mom's across the country. That continued until our freshman year when we finally had classes together. However, I got expelled, and she was upset with me, so we stopped talking for a bit. During that time, I met another girl and we started dating. That relationship lasted 6 years. Despite loving my new girlfriend, I still found myself drawn to Sarah, who was also in a relationship. We kept causing problems in each other's relationships. After we graduated high school, she went on to do her own thing and started working. While at work, one of my coworkers told a story about how he met a girl named Shelby and mentioned my name. She smiled and said how much of a great guy I was and that she missed me. Fast forward a couple of months, we got in contact and I broke up with my girlfriend for her, but not for long. I got back together with that girl again. I deleted Sarah's number, thinking we wouldn't talk for a long time. However, I thought I had deleted her number. Instead, I switched her contact to no one. That girl eventually left me, and I started going through my contacts to delete all my ex's numbers. When I saw no one, I texted the number asking who it was. She replied, "You know who it is, don't lie." I responded, "I really don't. I have this number saved as no one." She sent me a selfie of herself, and my heart raced as I felt myself falling in love with her all over again. This was the first time I had seen her in 2 years. We talked on and off, but she had a boyfriend. One night, she texted me saying she went through his phone and found him talking to his ex, telling her things he wouldn't say to her. A week went by, and she told me, "You're the only man I have ever loved." I haven't heard back from her in over a year, but she's doing well, and I'm happy for her. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.